to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this evening is Stocky Clark, the Executive Director of the Ronald McDonald House for Connecticut and Massachusetts. Stocky, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Pete.
How
nice
are
to
you?
be here.
Nice for coming down. Thanks for coming down. How have you been?
Absolutely.
Good. So for the first thing let's talk about tonight is tell us a little bit about Stocky Clark. Who is he, and what exactly does he do for the organization?
Well, I'm the Executive Director of Ronald McDonald House Charities of Connecticut and Western Mass.
Okay.
And we do lots of things, but the main things we do are run Ronald McDonald Houses.
Aha.
One in New Haven,
Okay.
which is for all of Connecticut, and one in Springfield, Massachusetts. We're located near hospitals because we provide a home away from home for children and their families who have come a long way, who have had to leave their local regional hospital and come to a specialty hospital for something that deals with their life-threatening condition. In some cases, it could be a premature birth baby. Yale New Haven Hospital, for example, will shortly have 61 beds for premature birth babies.
Really?
A huge, huge part of their endeavor. They also have a center for transplant, organ transplants. So children from all over Connecticut, actually all over New England, and for that matter, the Caribbean islands, come and have that kind of specialty, a kidney or a liver transplant, which is frankly life-saving. We see children come in who are on death's doorstep, and within 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how long it takes, they receive a new organ and they go back home and they live a normal life. Wow. Absolutely incredible.
Wow.
What we do is provide those families with a shelter in the storm. Okay. It's nothing but a home away from home. We don't get all dressed up. I do sometimes because I'm seeing donors are coming on the Pete Mezzetti Show or something like that.
Exactly.
But by and large, we've got kids running around the house. We've got moms and dads sitting in the dining room talking to each other about whatever's going on in their lives. And as you can imagine, we've got people coming in all the time. Right. So we've got one family that 2 weeks ago came in and was scared to death that their child was going to die or was going to have a life of severe difficulty. And we have a new family that comes in with exactly that feeling. They can reassure each other, they can talk with each other, they can share their lives and their hopes with each other. And so we have a beautiful little house in New Haven of 12 bedrooms. And one in Springfield of 22 bedrooms. In Springfield, the children come often for orthopedic reasons. They're in wheelchairs. They're coming from all over the place to have significant surgery done on legs, arms, et cetera. And it's really wonderful to see the fact that these kids don't have to go it alone, that they have their moms, their dads, as many members of their family as they need to come. And what's terribly significant about it when you think about the impact of having a family around is that the family feels like they're part of the treatment plan. They're definitely part of the decision making, but they have to learn how to tend bandages. They have to help with prescription compliance. You know, people leave the hospital, or for that matter, leave the doctors, and they never take the pills they're supposed to take, or they take them in the wrong order, or what have you. Here they have a chance at the Ronald McDonald Houses to practice and to get it right, and for the kids to feel comfortable doing it so that whatever infirmity or disability or problem that they're dealing with can be managed over the long term, not just over the short term.
Okay. Now, if somebody walked into the Ronald McDonald House, what would they expect to see?
They would walk into the volunteer office, and there would be your mom or dad or me or a college student behind the counter who would welcome them. We would have anticipated their coming because the hospital social workers would have called and said, we have a family who's coming, and we would have actually had them fill out some forms about when they're coming and how long they're going to be there and such in conjunction with the hospital social workers. They would walk in and immediately they'd be shown to their room after being checked in. We'd go through what the house procedures are, in other words, what chores their room is responsible for and how they can contribute, and what we offer them.
Okay.
They would be shown the weekly schedule, which would show when a group is coming in to cook. GE is coming in to cook, or Catholic Charities is coming in to cook, or the Boy Scouts are coming in to cook, what have you, for breakfast or dinner or lunch or something like that.
Okay.
And they would go up to their room and open the door, and there's a little welcome bag, teddy bears and toys and such, which really help kids feel at home and feel comfortable. Donated by you don't know who, just tons of people who make donations.
Exactly.
They come in and they then lead their life in whatever way they need to. Lots of times they're at the hospital all day.
Right.
Sometimes they're waiting for weeks for a kidney donor. You don't know. Right. And most importantly, they're not regimented by any schedule. We don't tell them what to do.
Right.
We ask them to sign in and sign out and so on and so forth.
Right, but otherwise.
That's all. It's a very normal environment.
And it's obviously it's probably 24 hours a day, or is there
24/7, 365? You know, it's funny. I was volunteering somewhere else for some other charity, and somebody asked me what I did, and I said I'm director of Ronald McDonald House Charities. I said, "Oh, that must be really sad. I mean, that must be depressing." And I said, "No, it's uplifting. It's uplifting to see these courageous children and their families going through whatever they're going through in a way that commands your respect, makes you deeply humble, and certainly brings out the compassion in anyone."
Oh yeah,
it's really beautiful.
It is a beautiful thing, and I've got to tell you that you guys do a great job as an organization. Until recently I knew about you guys, but I didn't know one existed in Connecticut until I was doing research, and it's like.
And shame on us. We're we got a national brand. It's a credible brand throughout the nation and around the world.
Right.
There's 360 Ronald McDonald houses around the world doing exactly what we're doing. You can walk into any one of them and feels the same, et cetera. But shame on us for having such low recognition. We just don't say enough about what we do, and nobody's touting anybody's horn because people come to us to help out. They don't come to say, "Hey, gee, what a great job I do," and so forth.
Yeah, right.
And so forth. So that's one of the downsides of attracting people who just want to work on behalf of helping someone who's not quite as fortunate as they are. So we need to do a lot more about it. I need to come on the Pete Mezzetti show and talk about what these great volunteers do and such.
Fine. I was going to say, let's talk about the great volunteers right now and exactly what they do.
And we got some. Well, first of all, we have some incredibly wonderful volunteers. Our founder, who's been there for all 32 out of the 30 years we've been in existence, she had to get the thing started. Claire DiMartino shows up every Friday for her shift.
There you go.
From 12 to 3, she's there. But we also have volunteers some of whom help run our events.
Okay.
I can tell you about our Dancing Under the Stars, March 11th.
Yep.
At Morris Cove in New Haven, at Anthony's.
Yeah.
Or Trees of Hope in the Maritime Center in December, which is beautiful. I can tell you all about those. But some of them run the events. Some of them come to the house and pull shifts. Some people come and cook. Some people rake leaves. Some people do gardening. It's all up to them. Some people volunteer for arts and crafts. Right. We try to take people's strong suits and bring them into the house because that's when people are happy as well.
Right. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Now what, like you just mentioned, Dancing Under the Stars. How many events do you guys normally do? Major fundraisers do you guys do a year?
We've got 3 major fundraisers a year. We have a golf tournament in June.
Yeah.
We have Dancing Under the Stars, which is, as I said, coming up March 11th,
yeah.
which is a lot of fun, great celebration of life. And our families show up, and lots of people show up, and it's about 400 or 500 people. It's an absolutely fun event.
Excellent.
And then Trees of Hope, which has been going on for 25 years.
Yeah.
If you can imagine the Maritime Center in New Haven with 110 trees in it, Christmas trees, all put together by volunteers. It could be the Firemen's Association, the Women's League, could be a business, Branford Electronics, all kinds of people show up, pre-planned, of course, to do it. And they make these beautiful trees. And so over the course of 2 weeks, 13 days, 7,000 people go through, buy tickets, $1 a ticket.
All right.
They stick it in this tree and that tree and that tree. And on a Sunday night, we pick the winners. And the winner takes off with their tree that's filled with tools from Lowe's or Home Depot, or gift cards, or a Barbie tree, different themes. There's
Very
themes
cool.
for every tree. People have fun doing it because it's in memory of someone who meant a lot to them in their lives, or just, to help us out. We net a great deal of money from that. We also have another event coming up, which I'd love to tell you about.
Go for it.
Well, we had a great board member say, we really ought to do something on the shoreline, Stocky. And I said, I couldn't agree more. I know someone who's really good at this. And so lo and behold, Paige Slocum is really good at it. She's running this event for us.
Okay.
Keith Tandler is our board member who was so excited about it, he didn't know what to do. And so on May 13th, we are going to have a great event for only 200 people. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut it off at 200 on Friday night, Friday the 13th. So don't bring your black cats with you. But it's going to be a fabulous event at the Guilford Yacht Club, and they're donating the space, and all kinds of people are donating things, and we're trying to bring in people from the shoreline so we can raise visibility and share our mission.
And that's a gala event, so it's...
Yes, we're going to call it a gala. There's going to be plenty of wine and food and dancing and good times.
But it's only limited to 200 people.
Unfortunately.
Right.
It's going to be what can I tell you? That's all we can fit.
Exactly. But it should be a good time, and like you said, all the money goes to a great organization like you guys.
Absolutely.
So what else do we want to tell our viewers and our listeners about the Ronald McDonald the foundation?
Well, I think Ronald McDonald House Charities is a beautiful charity worldwide, and is a model for sharing information amongst chapters, which I just did for 3 days. We share best practices. But it also, the McDonald's owner-operators around the area are marvelous in the sense that they support us through those canisters. You put pennies in the canisters and Happy Meals, and they hold events for us. They give us over 20% of our operating funds just from all of those things.
Excellent.
But they're also supporting the new house, which at some point we'll discuss.
We'll talk about that.
They're just wonderful at doing that. And the rest is, we have to raise from individual contributions. And that's it. That's, we don't get anything from any sugar daddies around. We get it in nickels and dimes.
There you go. Well, you know what? We'll talk about during the second segment. Would you mind sticking around?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Thanks.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Traditional light bulbs actually generate 9 times more heat than light. Switch to Energy Star light bulbs, and you'll realize just how much cash you were really burning through. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Stocky Clark, Executive Director for Connecticut and Massachusetts for the Ronald McDonald House Charities. Stocky, welcome back.
Thanks, Pete. Nice to be here.
No problem. Nice to have you here. So we were talking about the first segment about just about the Ronald McDonald House in general. I was wondering where you wanted to start this segment talking about topic of your choice.
Well, what's more important than talking about the families?
Right.
I mean, I think that some of the families that we have are unbelievable. But I'll tell you a story of one that's not too far from here, New London.
Sure.
I was sitting in the dining room, my office, talking to someone, and a man started sort of wandering around and approaching me, and I had a tie on. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. And I had a tie on, which is unusual for anyone in that house. And so he walked over and he said, you know, who can I thank? How can I thank you? And I said, please don't thank me. It's not me. It's a whole lot of people. And he said, I just have to thank someone. And almost had tears in his eyes. He said, I've got to tell someone. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I didn't even know about Ronald McDonald House.
Right.
And today, it's our salvation. And last June 29th, I got laid off by electric boat. I didn't have a penny to my name. 2 days later, my wife found out she was pregnant. And 4 weeks ago, she gave birth to 2 babies prematurely, both of whom are going to be special needs children, are going to have other afflictions, other issues than just having been born prematurely. And I don't know what we would have done without Ronald McDonald House.
Right.
It's given me the strength to keep going. I don't have to go back and forth to New London and pay for gas I can't afford.
Right.
I can be here to support my wife, and it is just the greatest thing in the world. How do I just thank everyone? And he was going around, saying, thank you to everyone who looked like a volunteer or staff. And we try to make sure that we don't really see the difference between all those folks.
Exactly.
And so he was thanking everyone in the room, and it was really very moving.
Wow.
Friday, the same thing happened to me. A family from Arizona whose 2 of the children have chronic Lyme disease, which is not a well-known problem, because insurance companies will pay for a round of antibiotics, and that's just about it. And here they are, these beautiful young children, teenagers, long blonde hair. They look terrific, and then you look a little closer and realize that they're moving a little bit slower than they might. And there's the mom who just came over and said, thank you. I can't believe we have this. We drove all the way, and if you looked at the top of their car, they just got junk all over it. The car's all rusty and everything else, but they come up here because the best doctor in the land is up here in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yes.
And they just are so appreciative. So that's the way that they're treated. That's the way they treat people.
Yeah.
We had a family, tell you another story of a family that was there, if you can imagine this, for 2 years, because they'd come up from Puerto Rico. There's no way that their child could go back because of complications related to a liver transplant. He just simply kept rejecting it. He just couldn't thrive, couldn't go back to Puerto Rico and thrive, and Yale just wouldn't discharge him no matter how much money they lost. And obviously we're going to hang in there with him.
Right, of course.
So what did the dad do? But he would come back every few weeks or whatever and do any job he could find. I came back one time and the whole iron fence was painted. He'd done it. He'd just gone out and somehow got the paint. They didn't have any money of any sort.
Right.
I think it was donated, but and then at the end he just wrote the most beautiful poem and the most beautiful thank you, and painted the ship of hope, called it the ship of hope, because a lot of our folks talk about hope and talk about a caring and life-sharing environment. And here's this family, just a beautiful family that had to go through the trauma of their lives for 2 years. God love them. And that's the way so many of our families are. So it makes me tell you, it sure makes me a better person, a more humble person. I'll tell you that much.
Exactly. And I was actually going to ask, you're probably not. You're probably more of a hands-on executive director, as far as you're out there as much as you can be, because obviously you've got other tasks and other things to do during the day. But I'm sure you.
It's a big draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be at one of the houses. Because of the life-sharing environment that we're in.
Yeah.
It's a constant motivator. I don't think I'm any different. I'm telling you, I'm no different than a lot of these other Ronald McDonald House executive directors. They're hooked on what they do,
Right.
because they know how important it is. It's not an arts and culture charity. It's a core charity.
Exactly.
Without this, without a Ronald McDonald House, these people would just be broker than they are. They'd be on the streets. Their lives would be torn apart. They would probably be divorced. Their families would disintegrate. And to see how much strength the families get and how little resentment there is by the siblings, because the siblings have fun too.
Really?
They get to play.
Right.
In the house, they get to watch movies, they get to, they get toys too. They don't get forgotten by volunteers.
Oh.
And so there's this huge support environment that takes place that is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
If I was a sibling of one of these kids, I think I would want to act out a little bit,
Exactly.
But instead we let them act with us and have a good time.
Exactly. Hey, from what I understand, you were recently away at a conference in New Orleans.
Right.
Tell us about that. How was that?
Well, Ronald McDonald House Charities, which I have to put in a plug for, is extraordinarily well organized. They are embedded in McDonald's. McDonald's Corporation provides all of the staff to the central office in Oak Brook, Illinois. And that staff is dedicated to program improvement, quality improvement, constantly providing conferences and best practices and manuals and such to really provide the best possible experience, including evidence-based research. What works and what doesn't.
Really?
What's the importance of a Ronald McDonald House? And the impact showing, for example, that parents feel like they're more involved in decision making. They participate more in the child's care. The children are more compliant with their medications, stuff like that. Significant impact research. But at any rate, I was at the conference, and what we do is we share best practices. So we're running a capital campaign to try to raise more funds for this new house so we can build it. And there was a capital campaign discussion. So I learned what 50 other chapters have done in capital campaigns, and came up with a great idea for like a bridal registry. The bride registers what kind of utensils they want for the kitchen and bedding and such. Well, we list what kind of chairs we need to buy and beds and bureaus, and hopefully people will go onto the registry and buy it.
There you go.
Bingo. So it's a good way to talk about what works and what doesn't work, whether it has to do with board leadership, staffing, HR, human resources kinds of things, programming, security. And Ronald McDonald House Charities is big on environment, making it green, energy savings, things that we can do to reduce our impact on the environment. So they sponsor assessments of the houses for security, for energy efficiency and stuff like that. They're terrific at it.
Okay. And what else would you like to share with our viewers and listeners about the Ronald McDonald House and charities that we haven't talked about already?
I'm going to have to think really quickly. I think
fine.
I think the main thing is that this is not a charity that's funded by government or regulated by government at all. It is a freestanding charity that earns its money from dollars that people send in, or go to events, or otherwise support through McDonald's promotions that they do for us, selling Ronald's shoes and things like that. We really need the support of the community. It is of and by and for the community.
That was actually going to be my follow-up question. The McDonald's franchises and the restaurants are probably one of your biggest donors for.
The owner-operators are terrific. They care.
Yeah.
They want the new house built right, which I'll get into at some point.
I was going to say we'll talk about that.
Yes, but they're so supportive in the sense that every year we get money from those canisters. We get money from the Happy Meals they sell. We get money from the promotions that they do for selling Ronald's shoes, whatever. They are so supportive because they really care. I wish they told the community how much they care rather than get press about, the fat that's in the hamburgers and so on and so forth.
Right.
They should really talk about the level of compassion that comes out of them through the money that they donate. It's wonderful.
It is. One thing we didn't talk about, which we're going to talk about before we say goodnight, if people want more information, I understand there's a website that they can go to. What is that website and what can they find on the website?
They will find all kinds of videos and information about how to donate and where to volunteer and what our programs are at rmhc-ctma.org. So that's Ronald McDonald House Charities Connecticut Mass, ctma.org. But you know what? If you punch in RMHC, you're probably going to find us.
I was going to say, you should be able to find us.
Yeah.
Well, Stocky Clark from Ronald McDonald House Foundations, I want to thank you for coming down tonight, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see you again.
All right.
On behalf of Stocky Clark, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.